There is a common theme throughout it, which is about the value of persistence and grit and determination and never giving up. And that is how dreams come true. It's not a magical fairyland where things magically just fall into your lap. They come true because you make it happen. And we're going to meet somebody today who's made a life's mission to make that happen for himself. So, okay, we ready to welcome the man, the myth, the legend. It's Simon Cole!
Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you very much, guys.
So it's my privilege and honour to host this conversation with you, Simon. We go back decades. We've run companies together. We've had an extraordinary journey, but we're here to talk about your journey today. Because we've got so many young people in the audience as well, why don't we go back to young Simon and talk about the genesis of who you wanted to be and what you wanted that to be.
Okay, well, you know what, guys? I'm no different to any of you. I love films. I love Star Wars. When I was 14, I know I don't look that old, but I was 14 when it first came out, and it really moved and inspired me. And all I ever really wanted to do was make my own version of Star Wars, you know. And I love sci-fi from the 70s and 80s. And I used to make home movies, you know, we didn't have phones and things then, we had Super 8 film. We used to go out and make my movies with all the guys in my street and everything. And that was it really, that was the beginning of it. And then from then, I managed to get in the film industry, I became an editor and I worked in children's TV. But the dream was always to make that sci-fi movie, you know, I wanted to do that thing. And you know, it wasn't really, I'd made other films since then, but it wasn't really until my late 40s when I thought, if I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. And, you know, thanks to so many great people supporting me, I'm here today telling you about a fantastic movie, Invasion Planet Earth.
So let's go on a rocket tour of the journey of Invasion Planet Earth, because it began as another film, Kaleidoscope Man, about, 1,000 years ago it feels, but it was, the early 2000s, was it?
Yeah, well, I came up with the idea for what's now Invasion Planet Earth, Kaleidoscope Man, back in 1999. Some of you probably weren't even here then. I'd had a script by about early 2000, so 2003, I tried to get it funded, it fell apart, then I tried again, and then in 2008, we were ready to go, but sadly it collapsed again. And come 2012, I'm nearing 50, I think I'm never going to make this thing. I started crowdfunding. I came to Comicon and Memorabilia back in, when was that? Back in 2007, 2008. Realised there was a massive audience, people that love sci-fi just as much as I did. And we started crowdfunding it, and that was how we did it. We started crowdfunding it, it took 2 years of crowdfunding, and that's people like yourself chipping in 20 quid, 30 quid, whatever. We did it for 2 years using social media, Facebook, Twitter. We raised enough to shoot about a third of the movie, and then after that, bigger investors came on board and we were able to get the film done. But it still took 7 years, so it's quite a journey.
So just to be clear, so we had this period of almost a decade where it was almost about to start, no it's not, almost about to start, no it's not, and repeat failure, 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 and you just wouldn't accept that failure. So you came up with an alternative plan, which is fair to say was bonkers, because you're going to make an invasion, and literally planet Earth is invaded on a shoestring.
And I didn't want it to look like it was on a shoestring. One of the things I realised, but quite early on actually, is when you ask for help, it's amazing how many people actually want you to succeed. And if you're passionate about what you're doing and you ask for help, you just do the best work you can, you keep pushing out there, people will come to you. And that's a really important message to all of you guys out there with dreams and things. You've just got to believe it, and you've got to just be prepared to ask for help. It works, I tell you.
I think there's a really important lesson here, which I saw happen with your very first crowdfund, which is sometimes we ask for help, and we don't get it, certainly in the way that we want it in the first instance, or we experience failure or a no, and we take that as a literal no, and it's like, all that really means is, go again, try again. And keep trying, and keep trying. And what happened? Your first crowdfund failed, didn't it?
It did. I mean, I went in big. We tried to raise a big dollop of money, but Facebook and social media was quite new then. That's how long ago it was. So we didn't hit the target. But I I just kept going because I knew in my heart I had to do this. This wasn't just oh, I think I'll make a film. I had to do this. And the only thing that was going to stop me was my demise. I decided that, you know, death was the only thing that was going to stop me from finishing this film or getting it made.
That's cheery.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully we'll make it to the release.
How many crowdfunds did you run?
We ran 7 crowdfunding campaigns over a 2-year period.
And I think critical, one of the strategies you had was to make it real and visible and get as many people involved as early as possible, which is why you did your first Birmingham shoot.
Yeah, we've got a scene in the film where alien ships are attacking the streets, flying and people getting blasted, and the army are there shooting up at them. And the first thing we did on the movie was we shot a scene in Birmingham, and I didn't know if it was going to work, you know, but they let us, we blocked off some streets, we had lights on cranes, we had 7 cameramen there, and these are all friends with their DSLRs, basically. And myself and a friend Mark, we just blasted out on Twitter and Facebook, come and be in our movie, come and be an extra, come and get blasted by aliens. And amazingly, I turned up on the day and I knew that there were going to be 30 or 40 people there, but 900 people turned up. And these were all people that were backers. And what I realised was, that's crowdfunding. They're real people out there, and they all came, they ran, they screamed, and they ran up and down the street, they fell over, they did everything we asked them for. They had the best night of their lives. And as a starting point for the film, it raised the bar really high because it looked fantastic. And it just kept going from there. And all those people were very engaged, they told their friends, they kept chipping in. It was amazing. And you know, and they're good friends today. It's been amazing. And now they're all now wanting to see the film, which is fantastic.
I think the big message inside of your entire journey, aside from the grit and the determination and never give up, is just how accessible creativity is now, whether it's a novel that you write at home and you put on Amazon, or it's effectively a homemade film but on Hollywood scale, you know, and you know, filmmakers talk about equity, sweat equity, and you know, you've probably invested about 1 million hours, so it probably did cost the same as a Hollywood movie, except it's literally your entire life. But I think what's really, really important to really grasp is, if you want to make something, the only barrier to you making it now is your decision not to make it. That's literally the only barrier.
It's your choice. Failure is your choice. So if you give up, then you've chosen to do that. Half the time, you see success is there, and you get to there, and it hasn't happened. I can't do it. Success is probably a little bit higher, so you've just got to keep pushing, and it's right around the corner. It really is. Just got to keep going.
And there's another really interesting conversation to have, and I don't want to get into it too deep now, but it's how we define success as well. And right now, it's fair to say that you are living success on this stage, because this is the dream of, you know, 14-year-old Simon.
It is. You know, people gauge success by money, which is a bit sad, really. Sadly, you know, I'm not wealthy at all. There's no money in it. I haven't seen anything yet. But success for me is, I've done something. I know I've given it everything. There's nothing left for me to give to this film. So I'm really happy with it. Whether you guys like it, which I think you will, I've got a feeling you're going to like it. That for me that's the success level. I know I've given it everything. I hope you love it. I hope it moves and inspires you as much as the journey has for me. Really, I think that's all I can say.
Every creative endeavour, certainly a film, is a team effort, and in a moment we're going to meet some of the team. But we're going to come back to it again, but I'm going to do it twice, because here's the thing in storytelling: when you want somebody to remember a piece of plot, you have to tell it them twice. So I'm going to tell it to you twice now. They have a stall back there where you can buy. Hold my mic.
Okay.
There you go. There's going to be about 50 of these on planet Earth in 6 months' time that will be signed. So if you want to own one, then now's your chance to buy one. They're a tenner, and £10 of that money will go directly to Simon and the team to pay for the completion and the distribution of the film. Because just because it's out now doesn't mean it's completed. There's also mugs and there's also other stuff. It literally is a cottage industry. I think it's really important in 2019 moving forward to really grasp that while there is the Marvel universe out there and the huge, monstrously large films, there's an entire subculture of which we are a big part, that we are inside of, people supporting people. So the way to help Simon moving forward is to just go and buy a poster for a tenner and then go and see the movie on the 5th of December when it's released. Extraordinarily, if everyone in this room went to the cinema to watch it and took 2 friends, that would be considered a big success for a film of this, going up against the monstrously large movies out there. So everyone in this room can make an absolute, tangible difference to the future of Simon, his team, and the film, and getting it out there. So I really want to encourage you to play that game, and don't do what most people do and say, oh, I'll go see it on December 6th, because it won't be there. It's a small film, it's going to play for one day, and then it's going to be Blu-ray, DVD, and
not even Blu-ray, mate, it's just DVD.
Okay, so that part of the world is now disappearing down a blood hole as well. So I think should we watch a trailer? Are we ready for a trailer? Yeah. Outstanding. Up for Invasion Planet Earth! And please welcome to the stage the cast. Who are running now because they're...
The cast, where are you guys? Julie Holt, who plays Harriet. Sophie Anderson, who plays Samantha. And Danny Steele, who plays Floyd.
So, let me start over here with the lovely ladies. And when Simon contacted you and said, hey, I'm making this Invasion Planet Earth movie on a shoestring budget, why on earth would you get involved?
For me, it was Simon's passion before anything else, because he was so passionate about it. We actually met in a coffee shop, like a really small coffee shop in Rugby, and we just talked for, it felt like hours, because we just, that was, for me, it was the passion, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I worked on a project with Simon before, and so I experienced him sort of directing me, and I just thought, he said to me, I've got a part for you, and that is a dream for me, for any actor. If somebody says I've got a part, it doesn't ever happen. So when Simon said that to me, I just thought, absolutely believed in his work. Then I met the cast and the crew, and boy, it was a team, and there was such a buzz, and there still is a buzz going on, and I'm so glad you're here to share that.
Danny.
Thank you. Yes, I met Simon in a coffee shop in London, and it's a thing about coffee shops, and I was taken over by his passion for the project. And he said, I cast you because you have amazing, crazy eyes. So, yes, thank you, Simon.
And I've got to say, these are brilliant actors. They were all cast because I knew they would really elevate the film to a level beyond my imagination, which they have done. So thank you, guys.
So let's talk about the moment when you're on stage, I say on stage, probably Simon's garage with a green screen behind you, and he's saying, imagine 5 million alien ships in front of you. How did you cope with that?
It was hard, I can't lie, I hadn't done green screen like that before, and it takes a world of imagination. I mean, the acting was easy in the sense that we had a good team, like 4 of us really got on, the actors, and I think that helped, and we could talk through things before we did it and afterwards and in between shots. For me, that helped a lot.
I was going to say, and also, there was a very emotional scene in the green screen, and what was absolutely wonderful, Simon played this most amazing piece of music and left us all alone just to think about this awfulness that is happening. So you had to imagine the world, the space, and this music playing, and suddenly I was just in floods of tears, and it just worked. So I had to believe in what was going on at that moment, and it just worked.
Danny?
Yeah, I really loved the green screen work that we did in Birmingham, and I think that when someone played that piece of music, it was really iconic. And you just said it was from Revenge of the Sith.
It was a sad bit music from Revenge of the Sith. I knew where it was from, but these guys didn't know at the time. It made me cry when I first saw it, so I heard it.
So is there anyone out in the audience, give us a wave if you think acting might be for you in the future, or you're already on that journey, fantastic. So do we have any words of wisdom to offer these poor souls or amazing heroes, moving into the future of, I suppose, independent film being a very viable way in now as opposed to maybe 20 years ago?
I think the first thing, I'm sorry if I didn't actually listen to you there, because the first thing that's so important for me is your gut instinct, because if something triggers your heart and soul and your brain, and you believe in that project, you will bounce it off the page. So, and something that's very, very important for me, you know, if the door shuts on you, sorry, I'm young here, sod it, you know, just walk through that door, make sure you absolutely head high and do your job, you know.
I would say, sorry, put your hands up again. Who's who? Yeah, okay, guys, yeah, brilliant. Lady, yeah, brilliant. Write your own stuff, make your own stuff. It's so easy now to actually write something from a short film, a 3-minute short film, to a 10-minute short film, to a half-an-hour short film, and then film it, and then just do it, because then you can cast yourself. Yeah.
Okay, Simon, do you have any questions?
Any questions? Well, I've got some advice to our actors here. Danny's absolutely right. Create your own stuff, write your own material. That will help you. There is no such thing as a 9-to-5 job in what we do, and a lot of us are brought up with, you know, we need to go out and get a job and you know, and that's unfortunately that's life. We all have bills to pay and that. But if with the acting, you've absolutely got to believe in yourself. You've got to create your own material, and you've just got to kind of find out who's doing what and encourage filmmakers and help filmmakers. And the thing is now, unless you hit the big time, that's fine, but it's very difficult to do that. You actually need to become part of the support network for the filmmakers. So that might mean you also tweeting and Facebooking and helping to raise money and, you know, helping to produce the thing. And that's part of it. So that's advice I would say.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying it out loud, but people help their mates, so make lots of friends, because and pay it forward. Do the work now, even if it's unpaid, and it will come back to you in the future. And something that I think has been touched on that I think is really worth amplifying, and you can kind of see it in Simon's character, is surround yourself with like-minded visionaries who are also bonkers, because, you know, what's wrong is always available. Why you should not do it is always available. Literally, when you make a declaration and say, I want to do this amazing thing out there in the world, 9 out of 10 people in your life will probably say, that's crazy. Why would you do that? That's not possible. You can never do it. I remember right at the very beginning of my career, I say career, it was, you know, I was, I don't know, 14 at the time, but I was making zombie films, which nicely segues in a minute. And an older boy who I held very in high regard, he was the lead guitarist in a band. He was almost everything I wanted to be. He was probably only 4 years older than me, 5 years. And when I said I wanted to be a film director and I was making zombie films, he laughed in my face and said, no chance, you'll never make it. And that was like lighting the blue touch paper for me. I was like, I am so going to prove you wrong. And it kept me going for 5-6 years. So it's not, you know, I don't really recommend being fueled by negativity, but people will tell you whatever you want to do in your life, it's not possible. And what you need to do is surround yourself by the people who say, yeah, it is possible, and I want to come on the journey with you. And then you end up on this stage a decade later, having achieved the impossible, which is a Hollywood-scale movie, shot not all in a garage, but kind of emotionally, yeah, in Birmingham, and certainly the visual effects, because I know I spent 2 years driving backwards from work on the phone to Simon. I'd be saying, how's the effects going? And he'd say, I'm watching a little blue bar go from 2% to 2.1% to 2.2 as it's rendering out big chunks of the movie. So all the visual effects were pretty much done in your garage as well.
Most of it. I had a few experts help with some of the big stuff, but yeah, I did pretty much most of it.
Right. So let's get back to zombies, because obviously that's the most important topic in the universe. There were zombies in your film.
There's a zombie dream sequence. Samantha, or Sophie's character, Samantha, has a, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but has a zombie dream, and this is and our characters kind of get embroiled into it. So I think we're going to show. No,
well, before I just want to preface this with Julie, because Julie, I think you particularly enjoyed this. What zombie acting tips can you offer?
Well, the first thing I have to say to you over there, it's the first time I actually wear lenses, you know, those lenses, and as soon as I put those lenses in and looked at my face, I went, wah! You know, I just thought, this is the zombie! Sorry. And what can I say? It's just, yeah, I loved it, and then I quickly took it off and went back to me again.
And actually, do you know, there's something that's quite interesting here, because was there any pressure in its previous life to have that zombie scene in or not? Because part of you is going, I want it in because I want it in.
Yeah, there was the geek in me that wanted it in, but I knew that it didn't really fit in a sci-fi movie. And originally, it was kind of a post-apocalyptic scene. But for one, we needed to fund it. I had no money at that particular stage. And so I thought, let's make it a zombie scene. And it took a while to blend it into the story, but it worked very, very well. But all those guys that came as zombies, they all put 25 quid in, and it meant we could hire the venue, we could hire the makeup people, we could hire the team, and go and shoot this amazing zombie scene, which we shot in Birmingham University, by the way.
And just, it is PG kind of zombies, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not really
heavy. It's fine. There's no gore in it.
Okay. All right. So let's watch some zombies. So Julie, was that really a dream come true for you?
Yes.
That scene was full on. Like, the guys playing the zombies in the background, they were relentless at running after us.
Right.
We'd filmed it, I think, 3 times, like all the way down the stairs.
And were they crowdfunders or?
Most of them chipped in, but when you say you're doing a zombie film, you get the professional zombies. And these guys are really good, and a lot of them are here today, I think.
There's a career path for you.
Absolutely brilliant, these guys, and they love turning up at events. But they were really good. The only thing was, I thought rather than have them kind of run, walking along, these guys were going to like run. They were like Danny Boyle's zombies in 28 Days Later, which some of them weren't so keen about, but it looked amazing.
Sure. So lots of lasers in there, Simon.
Yeah, I like lasers. when back in the early 80s, it used to be a thing when there was a new sci-fi movie. Has it got lasers in it? So I have a bit of a soft spot for lasers.
Okay, now obviously lasers have fantastic sound effects that go with them. I think we should meet the sound team that brought the soundtrack to life. Should we bring them on?
Yeah, definitely. The 2 guys we're going to bring on Benjamin Simons, who's our fantastic composer, and the lovely Alan Snelling, who mixed the sound and is also going to talk about the song we did. So come on.
Come on, guys. Give it up.
Come on. Now, this is Benjamin Simons and the marvellous Alan Snelling.
So I'm going to start over here because one of the things when people see the movie, they comment on is how much of the film is enhanced by an incredible musical soundtrack which you created. So why don't you tell us about how you got involved and your journey to creating the Kaleidoscope Man soundtrack?
Okay, is this on? Yeah, cool. So Simon actually called me and he invited me to come to his house to watch the film, basically. So went to his house, watched it, and he had music throughout the film already, the temp score essentially, and it was all Star Wars. The whole thing was Star Wars. And we had a chat about the intro of the film, and he was like, yeah, I really want some funk music here, like I want like a funk version of the Star Wars theme. And I was just there, I'm just nodding, and he was like, do you reckon you can do it? I was like, oh, absolutely, like no worries, it'll be easy. And I had no idea how I was going to do any of it. This was my first feature film. I had never done anything over 20 minutes before, let alone try and do a John Williams score. But I went home and essentially started writing some ideas. I didn't try and do a John Williams Star Wars score. I tried to do, like a mini score, but tried to focus it on being very classic sounding, so it sounded instantly familiar, like something you might have heard already, but modern enough where it's been made in the last few years as opposed to in the 70s. And just tried to keep it as lively and emotional and cinematic as possible, basically, and that was the goal, just to try and help take people on the journey along with the film.
And one of the things I always feel passionately about, certainly with independent films, is often the music can be a little bit vanilla, and you went for a theme.
Yes.
And how did the theme come about? When you come out of the movie, you remember the theme?
Oh God. It's easy to say it just kind of fell out, really. I started with just plonking around on the piano. I found a couple of ideas that I kind of liked the idea of, but I knew I wanted it to be simple, and I knew I wanted it to, in some way, represent saying what the film was called back then, but that is still in the film. So in the film, there's a TV show that the main guy loves called Kaleidoscope Man, and I wanted the main theme to match the way that you would say Kaleidoscope Man, so Kaleidoscope Man. So the main theme's goal was to match that in a way that was musically catchy, basically. And that was the basic premise of it. And then the other main idea for the music is we obviously have an invasion coming, so I needed to think of a sound that would be impending doom. And that's just play notes very low that go down in a very nasty sounding way. And that works out quite well.
Okay, something that you said earlier, I just want to amplify for everyone present. That moment when you sat down and listened to 2 hours solid of John Williams, most iconic music ever, and Simon saying, "Can you do that?" And you went, "Sure, I can do that." And that's part of the creative journey, is to say yes to every big opportunity, because you don't need to know how to climb the mountain, you just need to know how to take the next 3 steps, and then you'll figure out the following 3 steps moving forward. So never be daunted by the enormity of the task. Just know you've got to have it within you to follow through.
And that was one of the biggest things I struggled with starting out, was you'd spend a week writing what you think is a huge chunk of film, and then you zoom out on your software to see how much film you've got left to do, and you go, oh God, I can't do this. Or you put a marker in and you're like, right, this next bit of music's going to start here, and you're watching through the film thinking, okay, where should I end this piece of music? And then 6 minutes go by and you're like, I'm screwed, I don't know how I'm going to do this bit of music. And then you just stop thinking about that for a second, you just start writing, and then it just happens. And then that's the hardest thing, is just you just got to get started.
Okay, so Alan, clearly you have an extraordinary resume of amazing work under your belt. What on earth caused you to get involved with this guy?
Just the money, really.
Yeah, checks in the post.
First, Simon and I spoke about 18 months ago. I was aware of what he'd just made. We got together. I just love the project. I love Simon, I love the project. And, you know, I thought we can do some work here together. So I took on the job of doing the audio post in my studio, and we tried out a few ideas, and we got on really well, didn't we?
We did, actually. You know, what was great, as I met Alan by chance, actually. I met his wife first, and then she introduced me to Alan. What blew me away about this guy was who he's worked with. Do you mind sharing a couple of stories, some of your anecdotes that you made me laugh?
Oh, yeah. Well, I worked originally I've worked all my life in music recording studios, recording film scores. I started in the mid-70s, and Star Wars was the original 3 Star Wars films, was the first 3 films I worked on. As an assistant, but I was assisting the main recording engineer, so I was present at all the recordings of the music on Star Wars. I have very fond memories of that fantastic moment where cinema changed at that point. You know, we were getting suddenly huge audiences, sound reproduction in cinema became much better, and so it grew from there. I also worked on Alien, which was a terrific film. So those things were sort of my university degree, really. They sort of went in and stayed with me. So since then I've been recording other people's scores, doing audio post and composing myself. So I thought maybe I could help Simon here with his epic film. So
brilliant, and I can't thank you enough, Alan. And also, just going back to Ben, this guy, every day I was getting, well, every few days I'd get another couple of minutes of music, and I was in tears with joy. So I didn't get a chance to say that, sorry to him, but I was so over the moon with what he did.
Yeah.
And then I worked with this guy, and it was just a dream. It was, honestly, I was in heaven. Well, post-production heaven.
When we put the music together, when we put the score up with the mix and everything, there was very emotional moments. You know, I had a tear in my eye. This guy had made us cry. You know, yes, a John Williams brief, but you know, Ben put his stamp on it, and it was great. You know.
Just can you explain to everyone as well what post-production sound really is? Because I think a lot of people think that the sound that is recorded on the day is the sound that you hear.
Okay, it's not. The dialogue that comes from the rushes, from the cut, is, you know, in a fair condition. Sometimes it's pretty poor. So first of all, we have to make sure the dialogue is always sounding okay. And the actors and actresses here today came to my studio and revoiced quite a bit of the scenes, especially on the beach scenes and everything, because the sound was pretty bad. Once we've got the dialogue sorted out, we add effects, we add sound design, all the rumble of the spaceships and every sound you hear of the firing of guns has all been added, and that we spend weeks and weeks mixing every little sound to make it work. And this is what happens on all the films. So we probably spent a total of about 7 weeks in the audio post-production suite making sure this soundtrack worked. And then the music comes along and you get the fine balance where you get the factual situation and you get the emotional pull with the music, telling you the story, and directed by our man here, and that's what it all sounds like at the end. So,
okay.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay, so in a moment we're going to open up to questions. So if you do have a burning question, there's a microphone over there, and you'll be able to stand in the dark, so don't worry. So after this next clip, I'm going to invite you to go up and stand at the mic if you want to ask a question of anyone here on the stage. But I want to, Simon, not happy with just one dream come true, decides to go for a second one. But so while teenage Simon, or very young Simon, was obsessed with Star Wars, as Simon grew into a young man, he became obsessed with the new romantics musical movement. I mean, like, severely. I have seen photographic evidence and it's not pretty. So Simon in makeup and serious hair, this was a thing. And you got involved with Toya Wilcox, who is an icon of the era.
Absolutely. Very briefly, I met Toya with you actually a few years ago, and I asked her about being in the film, and she agreed, and she came. She did a couple of days on the film. She's brilliant in the film, by the way. Does anyone not know who Toya is, by the way?
The young ones.
Okay, the youngsters won't. Okay, she was a brilliant pop star in the early '80s. Anyway, I asked her as we were finishing the film, if we wrote you some lyrics, would you, and we did you a song, would you come and do it? She said yes. And she has done a fantastic song for us. Alan, I just banged up I just made a few lyrics down, but Alan is the real creative genius on this one. But it's a beautiful song, and it's available on iTunes and all the music platforms. So please, buy it, download it. But we're going to show you the video now.
So we're going to watch the first minute or so of the video, and then we'll, Simon, let's say 18-year-old you're going to make a Toya Wilcox song and video. Would you literally have exploded on the spot?
Yeah, I seriously, it was. She was on my bedroom wall, and as a teenage boy, all that sort of thing. And it was a dream come true. And when I was working with her, I kept looking at her, thinking, "Oh man, it's Toya." It was a really bizarre thing. But I'm over it now.
So again, it is the testament to grit and determination. In the film industry, there's a phrase, and I'm sure it's in other industries as well. People are overnight success. But when you actually look at it very closely, it's usually a 25-year overnight success. So it never really happens immediately. It just appears to be that way. So again, if you commit to the journey and to giving it everything you've got, then the magic really will show up. So we have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. Anybody got any burning questions? And if you do, run to the microphone in a very health and safety sort of way. Okay, is that a no?
Don't be shy, guys. Just come on.
Go on, you're being encouraged. This is your moment. Give her a round of applause!
Hey! Tell us your name as well.
Way too high.
Yeah, hold on the mic and speak into it.
I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie.
In the process of making it, the film, what was your favourite part of making it?
The actors.
Well, yeah. Okay, every shoot was a joy, okay, but it was great having tanks in central Birmingham. That was amazing, but that was stressful. Working with these guys, I think, actually, I love working in the house. It was a bit fraught, I have to say. There was a lot to do. I enjoyed all of the stuff we did in Coventry, and it's just lovely working with nice people that really care about what they're doing. And when they bring their own characters and seeing what they've, because I've written the thing, okay, but when they bring the characters to life and you're hearing Floyd, the character Floyd, talking, and he's a real person, and Harriet, as a real person, as just for you, Sophie, as well. When you're hearing these characters come to life, it's amazing, and all those words that you've been working on the page, you've had in your head, coming to life is just a joy.
Are you a filmmaker? Are you making films? Is that something you want to do?
You do drama.
You do drama, so you're moving into acting. Okay, so you make friends with Simon, and then Simon is making a film, and you say, I'll do anything, I'll make tea, and even if you're on set behind the camera, you're seeing what's happening in front of the camera, and then there'll always be that moment where somebody says, an actor's dropped out, and you go, oh, I'm available, and suddenly you're cast. And that's how it works, is make yourself available for every opportunity.
Katie, no promises. Just follow me on Facebook, all right? I've no promises, all right? But then then you know me. Okay.
I just want to say very quickly, just because the most fantastic time in my life besides this was I was background. You know, I did the background stuff, and I was proud of again doing that because I was learning on the set what was going on, and it was there that director said, I want to use you. There was something that just connected, and I was using the scene, and because I can cry on cue, I just cried, and I just thought, wow, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of stage one.
Okay, so we're kind of running out of time. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Fire away. Go.
My name's Rose.
Rose?
Rose.
Hi, Rose.
Congratulations on the film. When will DVDs be ready
to
sell?
Okay, well, the good news is you can pre-buy it on Amazon now, just Invasion Planet Earth DVD on Amazon. You'll get it on the 30th, it's out everywhere on the 30th of December. The digital's a bit earlier, well, it's on in cinemas on the 5th of December, then it's digital on about the 16th, and then comes out on DVD on the 30th. It's a bit annoying, it's just after Christmas, but you can delay Christmas for this, it's worth it.
So I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier, which I think is incredibly important, is if any of this is resonating with you, you can help Simon on his journey and everybody, all this amazing team, just by showing up to see the film, or taking 3 friends, or 12 friends, even better, make it an event, because, and then you can connect with Simon on Facebook, and he will thank you personally for making it happen for him. It's just how it works. It's the world that we live in. So they have a booth over there. Look for the Invasion Planet Earth big sign up in the sky. Invasion Planet Earth is prophetic. We have posters, we have mugs, we have all sorts of stuff. Actors and the team, are you guys going to hang around? So if you want a photo taken with these guys, then that can happen and should happen. And if you want some advice about your career, go and find them. I'm sure there's a musician, there's actors, there's sound designers in this audience. Go and find these people and have a conversation and get unreasonable. And the magic shows up for you when you're unreasonable. Simon is the living proof. I can't tell you. I'm going to pull a number out of the air now, but would it be unreasonable to say that you heard the word no 10,000 times?
Yeah, beyond, no, all the time. But no is only 2 letters. Don't let 2 letters stop you, all right? It's really important.
And on that note, I think we should conclude as we're over time. Give it up for the guys!
Thank you.